Hey, greetings and salutations. I am Dragon Burrows, and this is another Dragon Burrows video. Just a few minutes ago, I watched a thing with comment the comment section with Brett Cooper. I know the last well, three videos I did was going after Brett Cooper and her um, thing on young adult literature, toys outside Lego and Lego itself. But this other video that I've seen that she did was WTF is up with these adults, and it had, though it was on a particular public school in the United States where teachers were on one side of some plexiglass and students were on the other, and they had to lick this creamy white substance off the of their side of the glass. It's called the licking game. And let me tell you this. This sort of thing has been going on in church youth groups for as long as I have been in the double digits. Yep, for 31 or nearly 31 years of my life, I've been hearing these things going on in churches, especially on Friday night activities. And it's just so disgusting to have this sort of activity, like the licking game that was mentioned in the what the fuck what was this? Sorry, the times. What the fuck is up with these adults? Uh, Brett, let me tell you something. And I'm old enough to. I'm not saying it because I'm come from a place of authority. I'm saying it because I've witnessed this happen in youth groups, and I've seen various clips on YouTube and other such social media platforms where, in at least in that school, it was big enough and wide enough that the well, I'm saying it's a bit minor of an of a disgusting factor compared to what I've seen, participated in, and with what I've heard within these past 31 or nearly 31 years of my life. Back when I was a young teenager, I'd partaken in so many disgusting, vile, and very much nasty pieces of work, or shall we say, games that you would most probably find in a U.S. university dorm. Not game, hazing activities. And with one of them, I've seen and participated in the licking game. I've like one this particular game in question. It wasn't this creamy white substance. To be honest with you, seeing creamy white substance and seeing a male student and a female teacher go licking it off, making it look like they are pashing each other in 2023 is disgusting. Try having instead of something like a big plexiglass that is about the height of Rey Mysterio and as wide as Rikishi. I'm using professional wrestlers as measurements here. Be in between these two people and have like them lick this gooey white stuff off. Try having a simple cutting board, not much taller than this soft drink, or the other thing soft drink is Pepsi Max. I love this. I love the drink. I buy quite a lot of it each week. But that's beside the point. Imagine a chopping board, not much bigger than this 1.25 liter soft drink container, and not much wider than the width of these two remotes. Yes. Imagine having something like this, like, like this sort of height, like this sort of length. Like, imagine pretty much this sort of measurements being in between two youth group students, two leaders, or a youth group leader and a youth group student. Just just imagine it. Two of your television remotes, put put them there, and then you do this, put it down like a crossways. That small, I've even seen smaller, like a chopping board that big, and just imagine, yeah, from where the this part is to the bottom, that size chopping board, and have various things slapped on each side for them to lick. To be honest with you, I would actually think that what was shown on what the fuck are these parents doing, or these people doing on the Brett Cooper video that was shown. To be honest with you, I find that to be a lot more, you know, maybe a minuscule more, or it's far more less sexual than what I've seen with it was just very small chopping boards. And just imagine it. Maybe a male youth group student and a female youth group student. They both grab the board and they're both licking it. Like one, and they're like their hands are towards each other. They're licking. And I even moaned during one of these sessions. And this is like back in the '90s. So I was a young kid with another young kid, I was a young teenager then with another young teenager, and it was one of the most uncomfortable things. Like, I moaned because I love to taste the peanut butter, and there was peanut butter on the board, so I licked. And it was, yeah, I love peanut butter then and love peanut butter now. So it's just doing that sort of thing is absolutely disgusting and feral. Just for them to go at such a way. The same churches that I've seen it done would promote saying, "Oh, do not go and see this movie in cinemas because it has sexual content in it, and they do the pashing and the kissing, like they tongue each other with their tongues." Yeah, that's exactly the message that was being brought out. But then around the same time, the sexual indoctrination of this sort of activity, the licking game. And one time there, I had to partake. I was in a boys' team, and I had to go against a girls' team. So yeah, having male and female youth group students licking it away at a chopping board, not much bigger than this, you know, trying to get all this whatever stuff is on there to get off, is just blatantly wrong. I've also seen, and that's like a small thing. Oh, there's a lot more that I've seen. I've seen I've seen games where you had to like one of the games I had to take part in because it was forced upon me, and this was from the youth group that I was a part of. Like I wasn't feeling good at the time, but yeah, I still went to youth group because I was told that there was some big news, and the game was I had to put on a pair of pants and have people put things into my pants. And and to be honest with you, having things shoved down a pair of pants that you don't feel comfortable wearing, not exactly a good thing. That's one game that I participated in that I found to be that upon now looking at it is being gross and disturbing. Another thing that I partaken in the back in the day, and I hear still happens, the private pool parties from the leaders of churches, and especially around summertime the when all these pastors and ministers and reverends and whatnot keep saying we should keep each other pure, we should keep each other strong, we should keep each other noble to the cause of sexual purity. And the message was hammered hard and clear, no matter what church I visited or what youth group I visited. And yet, the private pool parties happened. And it was usually at a leader's house. Oh. Now let us unpack this little can of worms, shall we? Let me see. Inviting a a decent sized number of young teenage people to your place to swim in your pool, saying the week before that the wet t-shirt contests are evil, wearing bra and panty, like wearing swimwear, is evil, especially telling the girls that you cannot, you are not to wear like a one piece or a two piece to to the beach, to the pool, whatever. Even preaching that wet T-shirt contests us being as sexual and making you a slave of the devil. Really, you want to go down this route? The week before, you're inviting both men and young women, to a pool party where you know that these young female teenagers are most probably going to be wearing a t-shirt to go swimming in, therefore have this whole wet t-shirt scenario, making it easier for the male, and sometimes they're a female leader, to say, let's take photos, and for the photos to be kept in a location where it can lead to child pornography. And people think, with what Harvey Weinstein did, or with what Prince Andrew did, or this Jeffrey Epstein did, was gross and gross and grotesque and nasty and horrid to these young girls, is bad. Try looking at the youth group leadership. That is far worse. To use this whole, to say, oh, you've been good so much this year. Come back to my place for a swimming contest, or to swim. But remember, God is watching you, so you can't tempt. So you can't tempt the others. I've seen it done when I visited a couple of churches there when I didn't go to that particular pool party. I've been a part of 3 pool parties in when I was a young kid or young teenager, and to have like these male leaders put like their arms around these young women who have the wet t-shirts, and apparently wet t-shirts are the sign of the devil, so they are, according to the Christian faith, these male youth group leaders are embracing, according to the Christian doctrine, embracing this evil sexual thing. And I've seen photos taken. I've seen one, and this was when I visited one church, and I was like in my 20s. Youth group pool party, on like showing up, like on shown on the community board. See how much fun our youth group is. And I've seen one of the youth group leaders do a pose with what I've seen in professional wrestling. She would wear like the single piece bathing suit, and have her arms around these 2 beefy, not heavy like me, but heavy as in heavily muscled, young men who were topless. And she was like, no, no, and she was like, no, no, no. And with what the hands were doing, the hands weren't like that, you know. The hands were like that, not like that, like that, in the groping formation, literally over their genitalia. I'm like, and I even brought this up to the minister, and guess what? That female leader is his daughter. I said, you know, if that was a male doing it to a couple of females, you would not be putting that up on the thing. And he would go, if it was, even if it was my son doing it to a couple of young ladies, I'll still allow it. I'm like, really, why is that? And he said, yeah, my children are pure, they're innocent. And I was like, okay, grabbed my shit and left. Because back then I thought, uh, and even to this day, you shouldn't be preaching, like you shouldn't be preaching one thing in the church but then doing something different. Which I later found out that the very same minister preached on wet t-shirt contest that was going to be shown on MTV. Yeah, no. Oh, and even within a couple of churches that I've been a part of, that they didn't do these private pool parties, but they did water balloon activities where a lot of these women, or young teenage women, would put water balloons down their tops. Again, bringing forth a wet t-shirt situation if the balloons did pop. Even if they didn't pop, the moistness that was coming like from the sweat of these young teenage girls, the moisture coming from the balloons, if one of them had a little leak in it, would still produce this wet t-shirt contest situation. And one of the places I visited, I seen, and this was like when I was in my 20s, and I was asked to be a, let's just say I was asked to be a guest speaker on putting my dreams aside for a greater good of God. Don't know why I was asked, but I said I wanted to be a pro wrestler, but I'm now my mom's carer, and they said, fine, come to our church and you can be our guest speaker for the week. I'm like, and again, no, this is back before this whole working with children's safety number check what came into effect. I was a strange man coming into it. I was entrusted with educating these young teenage people about how to give up on your dreams for the greater good of God. Which that itself is a red flag. Nowadays you have this working with children's number thing that you can get your hands on. It's okay. But even back in the day, and especially during like the hot well, over here in Australia we have like the hot December and the hot February for youth group months. The hottest 2 months in the year one the tail end, one the second month in, and there is usually like a pool party like situation around this time, and the wet t-shirts and seeing these young teenage women with their starting to show off their figures, and quite a lot of the times that the material does get cupped in certain locations, and quite a lot of these church leaders can view them, and I've seen a couple of them, you know, given the eye, male and female, given the eye to certain young people. I've and there's another thing that really sickens me with this whole youth group situation is that it's not just like the sort of licking games and sexualization with the pool parties or wet t-shirt contest or wet or things going into different clothing and here and having that sort of stupidity as alleged fun. This other point, it is very much a gross thing. And these are to celebrate the fact that one of the leaders has a family member that had just given birth to a child. And what a way for them to celebrate their son, their daughter, their niece, their nephew, their second cousin being born. Bring in filthy and disgusting games into youth group. Oh, what joy and what fun is it to have a whole heap of baby food that is to be eaten in guess the flavor games to drinking vile and disgusting flavored milkshakes to eating chocolate bars and Nutella from diapers. Yep, I'm talking about the things that you put on babies to sop up that pee and to cover and to contain the poop. Oh, again, I had been partaking in it, and I've heard of, and this is just of recent years, for the exception of the pandemic, didn't exactly go down. It couldn't go down at all during the pandemic because of the various lockdowns around the world. But still, to celebrate a let's go, and just have like either the male or the female leader go, oh great, guess what? I am now an uncle to a little girl, or I am an auntie to a little boy, or uncle to a girl to a boy, or an auntie to a girl. You know, congratulations to for that to happen. But and guess then they go, oh, the theme of today's games is babies. I'm like, and this was one place that one youth group I went to when I was just leaving high school. Like I was just in that time period where I was just saying goodbye to going to youth group and becoming a member of a Bible study group, or a young Bible study group, to be more precise, around the early 2000s. One of the leaders happened. I was visiting a church. No, it was actually the church I was attending. They had. You had to eat a chocolate bar out of a diaper. Yes. Eat a chocolate bar outside out of a diaper, or lick some like a spread like a Nutella out of a diaper, or, and this is, I've in my books is one of the most disgusting uh, things that I've seen or actually partaken in, was squeeze this, like it was a taste test to see what what's this yellowy orange liquid is, and you have to put the diaper to your mouth and you have to suck the liquid out. And quite a lot of the times I've seen and done these sort of games, it was to do, like they bought a whole heap of these generic named diapers, which they end up chucking away anyway. That is, to be honest with you, a very vile and disgusting thing to have these young teenagers do. To be honest with you, I'm so happy I never became a youth group leader, because I would have had to have done shit like that. But I'm so as I said, I'm so happy I didn't become one. That way I didn't have to fulfill some twisted and perverted thing that I wanted to do to someone of the opposite sex. And in my 20s, I bought. Yep, I am admitting this. In my 20s, I've purchased pornographic magazines. Even just recently, up until like mid 2019, from 2000 to 2019, purchased and tossed away various number of pornographic material in magazine form. And to be honest with you, I'm not ashamed to say it right here on YouTube. I'm not ashamed to say it. But with what I've seen, from what I've noticed, is that with quite a lot of these sort of games being played in youth groups, is just this twisted college university, North American university sort of situation of hazing to these young teenage kids. It's like, to humiliate them into submission, and I'm thinking to myself now, no way. And for Brett Cooper, with me watching this video from Brett Cooper, let me just inform you something. This sort of thing has been going on for years, and it's been going on inside of churches. From private pool parties, having young teenage women running around wearing wet t-shirts, them thinking, oh, it's a wet t-shirt. It's I'm swimming with my I'm swimming with my youth group leaders and with my fellow youth group students. That's okay. At least I'm not like what Minister Kevin Russo said on at church on Sunday. I'm not going I'm not going to Bondi Beach and have some men dump huge amounts of water on me. I'm in a nice Christian safe environment. From what I've seen, not exactly safe for the young kids, these young teenagers. And even sometimes even as like young adults from the ages of 18 to 21. Quite a lot of times the same thing does occur. But the swimwear is changed, where men can wear more the male pro wrestler trunk design, and the women wear more the Baywatch one piece design at these sort of events. I think we're grown up to get in to be able to wear these sort of swimming attire. Bullshit, it's just a continuation on the whole young people sexualization in church. And to be honest with you, to you, Brett Cooper, and also to your fans, public schools are the least of your problems. That school that did that creamy marshmallow sandwich bread, that's tame. That's a one-off thing that happened in that school. But you gotta look at this. In churches, in predominantly Protestant churches, do far worse, and it's to the same age of young people. From private pool parties with leaders taking photos and posting them up on the church's community board, thinking, oh, it's wholesome fun. Sorry, just heard some good music outside. But and for these same age students to eat out of diapers, to lick strange sandwich spreads of things of no much taller than this. It's just, and quite a few times, and one time there, we did a church sleepover, and we had to sleep like travelers in the Bible. In other words, sleep outside. And we were told to keep the sleeping bags inside of, not to bring them out. We slept, and whatever pillows we brought, we couldn't use them. We had to put our heads on these rocks. We had to have a we had to literally remove our jackets to fold up and put onto the rocks, and that was our pillow. A big rock like this thickness, and and our and like our jackets, and what was to keep us warm was an itchy burlap sack. Just imagine, just you imagine doing that for an overnight. You're sleeping, you're sleeping over at your church, thinking that you're going to be inside some airbed, like some sort of airbed setup. You get to sleep in your sleeping bag and have your beautiful soft pillow underneath your head. No way. No sleeping bag. No air mattress underneath you. No pillow. You're not inside, you're outside. Rocks, a solid rock slab as your pillow, and a burlap potato sack covering as your blanket. That is wrong on so many levels. And it was one of the coldest nights on record. So, so let me just say to you, Brett Cooper, thank you for inspiring this video. But just remember this: Christian churches do far worse to young teenage people in their care. All and do these things under the name of good Christian ethics and good Christian moral building. And on that note, I am Luke. I am the Dragon Barrows, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye.